today were willing to kind of stay after a little bit and answer some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my computer and keep my mask on, and you're going to see move it right to the areas. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
And I'm going to move away so that I can take my mask off and ask some questions here. So if you have any questions for Mr. Blankenberg, he's our Director of Facilities. Again, please use that the chat feature. We had 2 great questions from technology. So I've got some similar questions for you, but then I'm going to go off in some different areas with you because you do something different, right, than what Brenda does. So, but I'll start off with some softball questions for you. How long have you been at Marcus Whitman?
This is my 4th school year.
Okay. Okay. And why did you choose Marcus Whitman?
So I spent almost 20 years on the road doing construction, and we live in the district. My wife and I both went to Whitman, and of course my kids were going. I saw it as a good opportunity to come back and be able to be closer to the kids when they're in high school for sports and that type of thing, and try something different.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So similar to what I asked Brenda, what's your work day? So when do you get up and start thinking about your job, and when do you go to bed?
It really sort of depends on the time of the year.
Yep.
Wintertime, we start plowing at like 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. And that can go until who knows when, depending on events going on that night. A normal day is usually I'll wake up and check some emails and look for some phone calls, because I have a crew that starts at 6 a.m. Basically, my staff works from 6 a.m. until 11:30 at night.
Okay.
So I've always got somebody working. So I sort of have to be available for them and anything else that's going on in the building. So normal office hours are 7 to 4.
Yeah.
7:30
Yeah,
to 4. I just say that, but
yeah.
It varies. It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. So you talked about the staff that you work with. How many people are on your team?
Including me, there's 29.
Okay.
And now with the pandemic, we have 4 temporary workers that are helping us clean during the day, and so we could get as many kids back as possible and keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So this may be a trivia question that I don't know everybody would have an answer to. How many square feet are our buildings? So if you took all of our buildings, put them together, how many square feet are we talking about?
Well, we have 10 buildings that total 465,000 square feet. And with the addition going on in the high school, we're adding another 5,000 there.
Yeah. So your typical Roomba robot, Fred the robot vacuum, is going to have to go back and charge like a bunch of times to get that cleaned, right? Yeah. So, I know this answer, but I think a lot of the community think they know this answer, but maybe tell everybody, how have you and your team responded to COVID, and maybe hit on the cleaning frequency, the types of products, anything you think that people might want to know about how you respond. Obviously it's working because we've had so few rates of it.
It's been a big change.
Yep.
A lot of the product we've used in the past, we had to step up the game and purchase other places and to continue on. The frequency has been increased on all high touch surface areas, depending on whether the classroom is cohorted or changing class. That adds another twist to the cleaning during the day that we're not normally used to. But I'm really proud of the way that my staff has stepped up and really kind of led the charge. A lot of them, making sure that the places are safe and healthy to get people back in. We've switched to hydrogen peroxide based product for a lot of places. So we've had to sort of, depending on need and what type of space it is, that's kind of what we're using for a product. Trying not to kill a budget by having way too much product on hand and monitor it. We're weekly going through and doing checks on what we have in the buildings and keeping a spreadsheet on that. with paper products and cleaning products because of the increase in the hand washing and all that type of thing. So, yeah, it's been interesting.
I think it's funny from my perspective, 20 years as a superintendent, how products have changed. Like
Yeah.
I could look back 20 years ago, and there are products that we used 20 years ago that are considered dangerous
Oh,
today that you would never put in a school.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for parents to know. I can remember the transition when we could use pesticides on our fields,
Yeah.
and now you got dandelions. And people are upset with the dandelions, but that was maybe 10 years ago where we had to stop using pesticides, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing,
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's ways to, to deal with the dandelions.
Yeah.
Other than pesticides.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you can clearly see how your team has responded. And I think too, how seriously they're taking everything. Because if they weren't taking it seriously, I can guarantee you we'd have a higher rate of infection than we do.
Yeah.
It's it's a cause and effect thing.
Mhm.
If they do their jobs, we have a lower rate of infection. And if everybody does their jobs, and if they don't, it's not going to be good.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's been a good partnership with staff, instructional staff and support staff, helping us along too, letting us know where we can get better, and working through it together, so that we're all safe when we're here.
Yeah. What's one thing that you wish maybe people knew about your role that might be helpful?
Well, I guess the thing that jumps out to me is that it's the role is always changing. So depending on what's going on, and it's the same, I know it's the same for Brenda, depending on what's going on, in the buildings or in the district, you can think your job is this, for a month, and then something pops up and you're going in a completely different direction, so your attention is now taken off of that, and you're refocused, and sometimes you have to leave certain things behind and get back to them, depending on what, jumps up. It's just the way that it is. So much happens, so quickly that the role changes all the time.
And I think that's so hard. It's why I love my job as a superintendent, because no 2 days are alike.
Yeah.
But it also makes it some of the most challenging, because you can't I've learned over the years, you think you can multitask and do everything well. You can't.
No, I mean,
You've got to prioritize things, but everything has to get done, and everything has to have the same value, because everything's of equal importance in a lot of cases. So it's that juggling and being able to figure that out. I always like watching younger administrators, because I like watching them figure that out, because you can't teach that. Sometimes you can tell them, but sometimes you have to learn by example. They have to learn themselves, right, the hard way, and they realize how they can maximize their time. But it is a significant challenge, I think.
Oh yeah, you could work 24 hours a day and never catch up.
You could.
Yeah.
So, one of the biggest questions that I think I've probably gotten as a superintendent, that I've had conversations with community members about, is why we can't open the buildings up to the community yet.
Yeah, I wish we could.
Yeah, and so give me, you're the director of facilities.
Yeah.
What would be, if you're talking to the public as I do, what would you say? What would be some of our biggest barriers to opening up the buildings to the community now?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest pieces would be contact tracing.
Yep.
And having enough staff to actually, so our building use is in the evenings or on the weekends.
Yep.
The way that we roll during the day is, if we're switching classes, somebody's going in between, cleaning the high touch surface areas. In the evening, we wouldn't have the amount of staff to be able to do that. We would have groups normally come in, whether it's a booster group or the Umpires Association would come in, and they'd use a room, or they'd use the cafeteria. My staff sort of gets in a rhythm.
Yep.
They start in one location. The majority of them are cleaning 30 to 40,000 square feet a night. So for them to go back and hit an area in this climate after a group left would be almost impossible. And then you got the contact tracing piece, where who's keeping track of who's in the building and where they've been, and that type of thing. I really wish that we.
Yeah.
It's I would rather see the building getting used.
Yep. I'm with you.
You know,
I like seeing the building alive all the time.
And it was a
you know?
struggle
Yeah.
when we were out of school, like empty hallways and, nothing going on. It's like, we were super excited to get the staff and students back in the building.
I thought it was depressing.
Oh, it
when
was.
especially the summer was depressing,
Right.
with nobody here. I
Yeah.
mean, you just like to hear the halls alive and
Yeah.
lockers slamming and things going and chatter and I just missed it so much. And then when we got the kids back,
Yep.
it was great. Again,
Yeah, we need to focus on making sure that the kids
yeah,
and the staff can come in and it's clean and healthy for them so that we can continue to teach and they can continue to learn.
totally. Yeah.
And then as we start to come out of this, start slowly, allowing people to come back in and use the facilities,
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
It's funny because I read the governor's stuff today and he's a leader. There's some things that just like me, I'm sure there's some things people like that I do and some things that people don't like that I do. Right. But the governor's same way. So I saw today, he's contemplating making mask wearing in school mandatory, so if you're 6 feet apart, you got to wear a mask. If you're 10 feet apart, you got to wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm not sure I'm going to mind that because if it's going to keep our buildings open, especially through the fall and winter, when
Yep.
people are before we can get a vaccine running and all of that, I don't like being told what to do. I'm not that. That's why I'm a boss, I guess. But I do see some value in that. Like, so if he were to say in a week, we're all going to wear masks, okay. I mean, we wear masks 95% of the time anyway, but
Right.
shoring up that last 5%, if we have to do it, we have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm
I
okay
think
with it,
it's possible.
Yeah.
Come this far.
Yeah. And then I would tell them, give us some COVID tests for our
Yeah.
schools,
Yes.
Yeah.
Rapid.
So something, one of the many exciting reasons why I decided to come to Whitman was, I had an opportunity. I've done tons of construction projects in my career. This project, right when I came in, was just getting to be shovel ready, as you would say.
Yeah.
I loved the concept of it. I loved the fact that we were going to be changing some big spaces like the auditorium and the music wing and the gym. And I've never put a second story on a building. I've done a lot of other stuff. Never put a second story on a building. I thought that would be just a neat thing to do and be great for the community to have a track and a fitness center, especially for the winter time and all that. So what's been exciting you about the capital project?
Well, the things that excite me don't excite anybody else.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it would be, heating plants, boiler plants,
Yeah.
failing mechanical equipment throughout the whole district. One thing that was really, I thought was really great was the amount of work that could happen at Valley and Gorham
Yeah.
in our phase one of this project, upgrading a lot, all the classroom carpets and, freshening up the paint and the new playground at Valley.
Yeah.
All those things were just huge. The main campus needed a lot of work.
Yep.
But there was some old stuff there. And everybody is excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the first basketball game.
I know.
And, I look forward to working your graduations.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I gotta be here anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot to be excited about.
Yep.
There,
The kids are excited.
yeah.
I snuck 4 BOCES students today. They were here for the morning. They go to BOCES in the afternoon. I snuck them out of the cafeteria for about 5 minutes. We went down and I let them at least look into the gym and take some pictures.
Yep.
And just that look on their face, that aha moment that they saw as soon as they saw the gym and how shiny the floor is,
Yep.
how great the paint looks, the pod center court, and then I showed them the auditorium and just them looking up at the lights and it was just great to see just that raw emotion out of
Yeah.
the students, and that's why we're doing this,
Yeah.
not for us,
Yeah.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's for the students and for our community. So I don't know, it's pretty cool. And, people ask me all the time, when can we expect it to be complete? And I think it is a big word, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what I tell people is we've kind of got to break out it and make it into parts. So, what I've generally been saying is, auditorium and gym we'll probably see before Christmas, if everything goes well, right? If you've ever done a construction project at home, people watching out there, if they ever tell you something's going to take, 2 weeks, you can bet on, 4 to 6.
Yeah.
That's just the way construction works, And what's interesting is when I did my doctorate, my doctorate's actually in business administration and project management. In the project management portion, we actually learned these gigantic formulas to figure out how long a project's actually going to take when somebody tells you it's going to take X, what
Yeah.
Y actually is, and then when you're going to deliver it, so that you don't disappoint your public is what it's all about. So, so I think that's pretty accurate there. But the second story in the hallway in between the gym and the auditorium, I think are the last two, I would say, big its.
Mhm.
So what do you think about those two spaces?
Right now, we're tracking pretty good. The progress is really on par.
Yeah.
On phase 3 part of the job. We should be pretty darn close by next fall.
Yeah.
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 So when we come back to school, I'm hoping to be able to, utilize some of the space, even if they're still doing some work on a second shift or something, finishing off.
Yeah. What I think has been amazing, again, in all the projects that I've done, is just seeing how many people are here working every day. There's a crew and a half that are here working. I mean, and because of that, we're rolling,
Yep.
which has been awesome.
And we got some really good contractors working.
Yeah.
So
They really care, I think,
Yep.
about the district and the building. They want to leave a positive footprint, I
Yeah.
think, when they're done,
Yep.
so cool. Well, last question for you. What's been your biggest takeaway from the pandemic?
I would say that it's been amazing to see the volunteerism come back
Yeah.
and how the community has like rebounded.
Yep.
From this and working the food link and all that that stuff and it's nice to see.
Yeah.
I kind of am looking up.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing here. I think it's good.
Yeah. I've found nobody is afraid to roll up their sleeves
Yeah.
here. Nobody.
Yeah. I mean,
And that's huge.
And it's really given.
Yeah.
It's given the community an opportunity and staff members.
Yeah.
The opportunity to work with, each other and get stuff out there to people.
Yep.
And it's been nice, and I guess it's good to see.
Yeah.
That coming. It's always been here in this community.
Yep.
But now there's been this big reason for everybody to really show.
Yeah.
Show their part.
It's
nice.
And it's also showed me that, people have their differences. It's a tough political environment right now with the election coming up and all that. But, we do Food Link, we do different things, and you see people on both sides of the aisle from our community.
Yep.
They put all that aside,
Yep.
and whatever they can do to help, they're doing it.
Yep.
And then they go back to bickering and getting on Facebook and everything else about their political views, which is fine. But when it comes to the actual task of having to help people, it just gets done.
Yep.
And that's not every community has that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
from somebody who's outside of the community,
Yeah.
me, not every community's got that. So, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Brenda, for being here today and